So what are the resources, whether they be emotional, whether they be spiritual, that you draw on a personal level to sustain and to keep yourself alive in terms of being the leader of the Western Cape?
Yeah, look, I think that we all have a variety of resources, and at the end of the day, they're all probably spiritual, however we arrive at them. I think that I arrive more explicitly at my spiritual resources through Islam. And I think that in order to purify my Islamic approach to those spiritual resources, I fight battles within the Muslim community against issues of fundamentalism, against issues of pure traditionalism, and all of those kind of things, to find an Islam that I'm comfortable with and that I think works for me. Because I think that there can be traditional without being spiritual. And I think that certainly you have fundamentalist without being spiritual. And those two extremes often show the absence of spiritualism, the absence of honest living. And at the end of the day, whatever we conceive of God, I think that God is something that we project as the best we can be. And when we are accountable to God, you see who you can be. And at the same time, you see who you are not. And I think that it is in understanding the gap between who you are and who you can be that I think that you draw your reflective spirituality. When you're able to think in the calm spaces of your soul about yourself, where you can forget who you are, where you can remember who you were, where you can make a choice about whether you can be that person again, where you can draw the willpower, where you can get clarity. Now that clarity is absolutely critical to avoid being Othello, where people manipulate your paranoia. If I had to be paranoid for the last 3 years, God, we would have fought enormous battles in the Western Cape. Because all the gossip you hear, all the stories you hear, are aimed at mistrust between you and the person about whom you hear. If you had simply, you've got to make a distinction between who you disagree with and who's your and your enemies. If you can't make a distinction, you won't speak to anyone. You've got to treat everything at its lowest level before escalating it to its highest level. You've got to be able to say, no, that comrade and I have a disagreement. But if you escalate it to he doesn't like me, he wants to kill me, he hates me, then I think that you've created a complete basis for paranoia, and then you're not your own boss, because then paranoia rules you. So you've got to have the spaces in which that clarity is able to come out. I think that we've been tested, for example, in Cape Town. I've had to find ways of fundamentally disagreeing, for example, with the mayor, but not dissing her as a person. And somehow I think that, difficult as it may be, I think that we've been able to create enough faith in the system of governance, because that at the end of the day is bigger than two individuals. And so how do we manage all of those things? But it's really, I think that to round up an answer to your question, I think at the end of the day, it's that spirituality that allows you to just divest yourself from all the contestations of the world and to look in yourself and to find a moment of clarity where you can make distinctions, and more importantly, where you can make choices about being something better than what you are.